Hello and welcome to this game review. So in this one we will focus on opening principles, but more importantly on checks, captures and attacks, as this is where games are decided by checks, captures and attacks, and whoever misses less of these forcing type of moves, he will usually win the game. So let's see how important they were. So already on move 1, this is a slight inaccuracy by black, because after white takes, now black is forced to take back with the queen. And this is a problem because the queen should not be developed so early, as the opponent can use our queen as a target for their pieces and developed with tempo. For example, here, knight c3, if we move the queen, white will be able to develop in the center, and now we have no pieces developed, so our opening did not really make sense. Instead, we should play e6 or c6, and then play d5, so that we are able to recapture on d5 with a pawn and keep a pawn in the center. Okay, now black pushes d5, e5, so this is okay. Now we have the center. After bishop c4, here we should think about checks, captures and attacks already. And there are no checks, but there is an attack on the knight. And it turns out that this knight cannot move anywhere, as it is now trapped, which means we are simply winning a piece. Simple as that. Knight is trapped. This can happen in a game of chess. So now instead a6, but this is a useless move. We shouldn't play moves on the side of the board in the opening. Our focus should be to develop the pieces as quickly as possible. So instead a6, white plays f4, b5, and now c6, and here black found the idea to trap the knight, so this worked out well. And now, again, we are up a piece, but this does not mean anything for the moment, because all of our pieces are not developed. So again, we should develop them as quickly as possible, maybe bishop d6, knight f6, castles, and then we will be very good, because we are a piece up. Instead, black develops the queen with check, but now the queen will not be very useful alone, and this has been another violation of opening principles. The queen is developed too early. Now bishop g4, and the queen g6, moving the queen again. Instead, again, we should try to develop as many pieces as possible. But now after queen g6, white takes a pawn, which also should have been seen that the pawn is hanging. Now black takes this knight, and the reason this is a blunder is because this knight was pinned, and there was no reason to take the knight because it can't move anyway. Instead, we should try to again develop pieces. And now, for example, bishop c5, next knight e7, and if we castle, then we will not have problems with our king, who is still in the center. Instead, this happens. Now h5, and this move doesn't really help us at all. Again, what should we do? We should develop pieces. Of course, this is not ideal, but at least we're somehow developing pieces. We must castle as soon as possible, and if we get castled, we will be okay. But now d6 happens, and here white attacks this and this as well. So before making any move, we must think about the opponent's checks, captures, and attacks. And here it turns out that yes, white is threatening to win the queen like this, but also they are threatening the rook. So we could have played rook a7, it turns out, to defend from both threats. Okay, now knight h6, white takes, rook takes back, and bishop f7, so now we have lost the queen, so the game should be more or less over. But of course, as it happens, sometimes we will get chances. So now queen c7, and after king e8, white could give checkmate here by one of the checks, and here queen c8 is checkmate. Because the king is in the center, white has a few attackers, so it should end in checkmate. But instead, white takes here, queen d8, queen e7, and here white plays this terrible move, queen f6, which gives up a queen in one move, and we take it, and suddenly black is winning, because we have a knight and a rook. But again, until we start using these pieces, they are not really useful. So here we should develop the knight and the rook as soon as possible and try to handle these two pawns. Instead, f5, d7, knight c6, and now these pawns are blocked by the knight. So now black should be able to win the game, firstly by picking up all these pawns, and then hopefully getting through to the opponent's position through the e-file, as we have two rooks against one. So now rook e1, king g7, Again, this is a bit random. And also, this is a 10+0 game. And 10+0 games are not very serious. We should not play such fast time controls because, as you will see, there will be a million blunders and we will not really be able to think. We will only have enough time to use our intuition, which is not very strong while we have just started playing chess. So we should play with longer time controls to be able to think about our moves. So now e7, so we have to give up the knight, but this is okay because we have two rooks against one rook. And here f4, I mean, why are we playing f4? The pawn can just take it. We could just defend this pawn, then play rook d8, rook f7, and so simply pick up this pawn. And in this rook endgame, we will have two rooks against one, which should be an easy win. But now, this is of course fine as well. And here we have two rooks against one. We should just use our rooks. Maybe go here, pick up this pawn, pick up more pawns. And eventually we just want to create a queen, maybe with this pawn. This pawn also can work. So let's see what happens. King f2, rook f8. And here white plays rook a7. And here they have a threat of taking the pawn, which is not the big problem. The big problem is that this is a skewer, which means that if the king moves, this rook will be hanging. So this is a big problem. So black moves the king. And here, the same problem is here. But this time black ignores it and plays h4 in 3 seconds. And this is what I mean by not playing 10+0 games. This is just not enough time to make decent moves. Instead, black should probably try to invade through the second rank. And here the rook is defended, so we're not scared of such exchanges. Here black is easily winning with the extra rook. But h4, I mean, I think you understand yourself why this is a mistake. And yeah, now white is better if he takes back with the pawn, and now he has an extra two pawns while this pawn is blocked. But white takes with the king, which is very strange. And black plays king f5, which is also very strange. The point of our endgames is usually to create a queen, right? So here, if we play f2, there is simply no one stopping us from creating a queen. It's just game over. There's nothing to discuss here. But for some reason, black didn't think about this. And now after king f2, the pawn is getting picked up. And after rook f4, white could take the pawn and again win the other rook by the same technique that they did before, which is called a skewer, attacking the king, which cannot move because then the rook will hang. Instead, h4 happens, and a few moves later, black again falls for this skewer and rook h3. Now black resigns because they will be a rook down. So generally, it's not clear if these mistakes are because of lack of calculation or no blunder checks. Simply there's no time to think here, right? We're playing just blitz chess. We're guessing maybe this move is good, maybe this move is not good. So such chess is not really going to help us improve. So to improve, we must play with at least 15+10 and then try to see if we're able to play with such time control. If we continued making such blunders, then we should play with a longer time control, maybe 30+20. And then once we get the hang of it, we can go to a little bit faster time controls.